Hey everybody, I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Look, I know that it has been a couple weeks since we checked in with our midweek videos, but What's the Point is still here and still going. Just be gracious with us. Honestly, it gets very cold in this video room, and try as it might, that little space heater right there is just not doing a whole lot for us. But we're here now, and that's what matters. Sunday, Justin spoke on Ecclesiastes chapter 9, the end of it, verses 11 through 18. And if you missed that, go back and listen to it. You can either pause this, go after you watch this, whatever. Go back and listen to it. There's some very practical wisdom to be gained from it. Justin called this sermon Managing Expectations, and I think that that is the most fitting title for a text like this. I'm not going to sit here and try to recap the full sermon, but I will give you a few additional thoughts that I had on one of the points. So Justin's first point was to expect the unexpected, or I think specifically he called it to don't be blindsided by the unexpected. In verses 11 and 12, the writer sets up these examples in life or of how life events can sometimes feel like a dichotomy. We see that conventional wisdom would tell us to be fast and we will win the race, to be strong and you'll win the battle, and to be intelligent and wise and you will find a way to have the means to acquire the things in life that you want. The kicker comes in the end of verse 11 though, that time and chance happen to them all. In verse 12, we see that like the fish and the birds, we can be going throughout life doing exactly what we were made to do, and yet bad things are still going to happen. We see this concept over and over throughout Scripture. A couple really well-known examples that many of us probably know. You see in Matthew chapter 5, verse 45, that he makes the sun rise and go down on the evil and on the good. He sends the rain on the just and the unjust. Just last week, at the beginning of Ecclesiastes chapter 9, we see that it's all the same, since the same events happen to the righteous and the wicked, to the good and the evil, to the clean and the unclean, to the one who sacrifices, to the one who doesn't sacrifice, to the one who is good and to the sinner, to the one who swears his oath and the one who breaks his oath. That was chapter 9, verse 2. So though we live in what feels like everyday life, we should still expect the unexpected. We shouldn't be blindsided by the unexpected. If you want to look into this further biblically, let me point you towards the book of Job in the Old Testament, which is maybe the best story of expecting the unexpected and being blindsided by life. Now, in the midst of that unexpected, the perspective that we choose to take is incredibly important. We need to understand and trust that God's sovereignty hasn't shifted in the slightest, even if our circumstances have. God's not surprised by or even reactive to what's going on in our life. So we see in Psalm chapter 135, verse 6, that whatever the Lord pleases, he does, in heaven and on earth and in the seas and in the deep. We see in the very first chapter of Ephesians, verse 11, that in him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things according to his counsel. And then maybe the most well-known of these kind of verses that point to God's sovereignty is Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. At Crosspointe, over the past couple of years, we've seen members of our church family walk through the fire, as it were. We've seen healthy bodies suddenly stop working properly. We've seen businesses go up in flames and other bad things, other terrible things that have happened. And you have too, I'm sure. But praise be to God that he works all things according to his will and for good. That's the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, and literally everything in between. We don't always understand it, and we may not get to see it, but we're reminded by Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3, that we serve an all-powerful God who rules and reigns over everything by the word of his own power. So we run this race with endurance, but that doesn't necessarily mean that during the race we don't catch a root and fall flat on our back. And hey, that also doesn't mean that it doesn't sometimes feel like once we're on our back that someone comes along and kicks us while we're down. What it does mean, though, is that if during those times we shift our perspective to the one who rules above the sun, we might just have the opportunity, like Genesis chapter 50, to see what was meant for evil, God meaning for good. So I don't know if you specifically, yes, you individually, the one watching this video right now, if you needed to hear this today or not. If you did, then be encouraged. Look to God and ask him to show you his goodness in the midst of the unexpected. And if you don't feel like you needed to hear this today, then you better save it and put it somewhere that you can come back to it, because like verse 11 and Ecclesiastes chapter 9, time and chance is going to come for us all. Time and chance happens to us all. But thank God that we serve the one who has ordained our steps and sticks closer than a brother through those steps with us. We'll continue our study of Ecclesiastes starting in chapter 10 this Sunday morning at church. Things get started about 10 o'clock, and I hope that I see you there. Later.